is this Jesus Christ of Nazareth?
It's scary. I'm so scared.
You can fall into that pit of messiness, or you can find Christ.
I know people that come down here, they make it for 2 or 3 weeks, they have to move back home because they're like, this place just took them over. They're at the club till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It's too fat. It's just too much.
I know you're prepping for a 100-mile marathon.
Like, you have Jesus in your corner the entire time.
I think back to the early, church fathers, the early apostles who used to have to.
I want to live a life of purpose and joy and fulfillment with kindness and spreading love, right?
You give yourself to Christ, right? And you say, forget me. I want you, right? I need you. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first and ever podcast on the C&HD community. Super excited to finally get this off the ground. I got to be honest with you. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time. It's one of those things that, like, you put in your head and you say you want to do it, but you wait for the right time, you wait for the right equipment, you wait for the right people, and sometimes that's just not how it happens. For instance, I'm out here in West Palm Beach. You're out here based in Miami. And I kind of shot you a text and said, let's just meet up, do a podcast.
Let's go.
And now we're sitting here, providing it. So I really think this conversation is going to be authentic. We kind of chopped it up a little bit before this, but we haven't dived into any nitty gritty details on what we're going to talk about. Justin is extremely talented in what he does in the fitness industry, and he also is a motivational and a person that inspires young men, much of like what we're trying to do here at C&HD, to become the best version of themselves and really be called to what God calls them to be. So excited to see where this goes. If you don't mind, this is the first time I'm actually introducing myself to the C&HD community, and I've always grew the account from making edits and things like that, cinematic Christ first content, but I've never actually been on the forefront of showing who I am publicly. So kind of want to just introduce myself and take a minute to address the C&HD audience directly, because right now everyone might be like, who the hell is this guy? So my name is Justin. I'm the face behind the C&HD account. I started this page, a year ago, man. And it was just with the intent of, making content that, we're scrolling all day, some refreshing, some rejuvenating content of something that's so near and dear to me and, really should be to anyone, of which is, Jesus Christ. And I started a year ago and it's grown to a point that, I didn't really have any expectations for it, but, it's grown to a point that, greater than I even thought. Whenever you start something, it starts slow and you have to be okay with getting through the ugliness before you start getting some recognition. Over the past year, we've had 10 million views on the account. We have now close to 30,000 followers. And I don't like to call the C&HD community followers. I call them like disciples. Because when I started this mission, it was based on something in the Bible called the Great Commission, which is go forth and make disciples of all nations. And that's really the goal here, to sort of spread across all areas of the world. I have followers in India, in Europe, in Russia, all over the place, South America. And it's about making disciples of these young men and women to go out and spread the good news in their communities. I'm so thankful for the community that I have so far. We've been able to drop our first line of merch and sell, well over 600 items. And what that's done is be able to build a C&HD fund. So we can give back eventually to, Christians that are persecuted and underserved, because it's something that's not really talked about in mainstream media, but it's real out there. There's a spiritual warfare out there. So I'm just so thankful that, Christ has put me in this position. I think back to the early, church fathers, the early apostles who used to have to, go all throughout the world to spread their message by foot, by boat, by, camelback, whatever it may have been, to spread their message and ultimately be persecuted. The early apostles and disciples of Christ were all brutally murdered but one, for spreading this message. And to be able to sit here in this sort of forum and speak with like-minded people and reach an audience, there's nothing more valuable than that. So I think, as the Apostle Paul tells us, my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work that God assigned to me through the Lord Jesus Christ and the work of telling the others of good news of the gospel. So, just wanted to kind of open up with that. We'll see how we dive into, but more importantly, I want to jump into who you are, let the C&HD community know what you're about. We grew up together. So it's funny to be here, to see how much you've grown. I don't know if you give yourself enough credit, but you've gone on to do great things, man. And it's inspiring for me and for other people. So open it up. Tell us how you got
dude,
here.
First and foremost, I am honored to be here. It's your first podcast for Christ and His Disciples. It's so exciting that I'm actually the first guest on the pod. I'm honored to be here. Number two is it's so crazy that you and I to think that we grew up together from the 6th grade, and now we're happen to be here, same place, same time, and make this happen. It's just really incredible.
Yeah.
Dude, and also you've gone on to go on and do great things too, dude. Look at this. You grew a crazy community here. And it's just super exciting to talk about God and spread His message and have a good conversation with you, bro, and open up this good dialogue. So yeah, a little bit about me is I'm a personal trainer, really big in the fitness space. I have a really huge passion for health and fitness. Been doing it since I was, very young, obviously, as you know, high school.
Yep.
I know I kind of was able to go to school for it. I was blessed to be able to go to a good school, get a good education on pursuing a health and fitness job. And, I ended up down here in Miami, and I'm living my dream, being able to train some pretty cool people, meet some cool people, and, ultimately doing it through my faith, which is what got me to where I am today. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, right? Your faith is a part of getting you to where you are today, right? And it's sometimes, people will come to realize that further on, but you're in the midst of your success and what you're building. When did you come to that realization of faith being a key part? Was it something always ingrained in you, or was it something that you've come to realize through the process?
Yeah, dude, it's funny because I grew up in a religious household.
Yeah.
I went to religion growing up.
Yeah.
So I did have that religious background growing up, which not a lot of people have. I grew up in that way. And then, I want to say as I got older, maybe in college, I kind of maybe lost my touch a little bit with my faith.
Yeah.
Getting out of school and then kind of being in the real world and experiencing things firsthand, real world experiences. I've kind of my faith just grew so much because you see things and you go through things that you realize, you have Jesus in your corner the entire time.
Yeah.
And it kind of is so crazy because it kind of came on so suddenly, and it was really cool that, it came back to me because it's something that I did lose. And, a lot of people struggle day in and day out with faith. So, I was very blessed that I was able to rekindle my relationship with God and, and I have to keep growing it, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen, one of the biggest blessings that I've had about, starting the C&HD community is it's not through the likes and the followers or merchandise. I mean, I love doing that and growing it towards this fund and the community, but I'm having these conversations with these people. And like I said, from all over the world. And a lot of people are going through hard times. A lot of people, weren't always raised in a household that it sort of made sense to them, because a large part of, our faith, whether, regardless of denomination, it's about having the catechism of growing in your faith, mostly through parents or a spiritual guide or religion or something that it is. Not everyone has that. Yeah. So some people get to this space, and I see it through many conversations, through DMs or comments, and it's these conversations of, they don't know where to start. They don't know. They have this idea of this spirituality or someone, but they don't know the person that is Jesus Christ, a person that is so outstanding, but so simple that a child can know and love him, or a theologian can kind of interact with him for their whole professional career and still die and be left, needing more. So I guess before we get ahead of ourselves, right? You've gone on to do awesome things, celebrity training. I've seen some of the transformation you've done online. I don't know if we'll do it a part of the podcast, but if we trim this up, we can sort of flash on, some of the transformations you've done. Is it more of a personal thing of who you are and it reflects to others? Because a huge part of faith is people don't like to get pressed or sold faith, It's more so when it's shown. Yeah. So are you more of a person that you have this background of faith. Is it something that you show in your everyday life, the way you treat clients, the way you attack the day, the way you motivate people?
Yeah.
And that sort of reflects, into how they interact with you.
Absolutely. I want to say that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having God in my corner, right? Like I have a really capable body that I compete in I do marathon training, I do bodybuilding, I do all this type of training. It's like, I'm so blessed to be able to wake up first and foremost and do that. Like getting to wake up at sunset in Miami Beach and go for a run. Like how many people in the world would die to be able to do something like that? Like, so right then and there, I'm blessed to be able to do that. Number two is I get to go, help people with their lives every day. I talk to people about their problems while I train them. I talk to people about, their life. And not only that, I'm able to like bring the best out of them. Like they're giving me an hour out of their day, right? To just to better themselves. So like that all comes down to like, what's driving that? That's my faith, right? Because I want to do better for other people. I want other people to do better for themselves. And like, that doesn't come without, a higher power, something pushing me to do that. So for me, it's like being a good person, helping people get to where they want to be, treat people with respect, giving clients the best, like the best trainer, the best person in their life that like will show up for them, So that is all back through God, that my persona, the way I like to live my life, it is definitely back through God.
I think so much of that is because, you're in your passion, right? And I think Christ calls us to operate. We're all given these gifts, right? And you're given your body, your mind, your spirit to help others and be like an example, and you're in an industry that you sort of have to lead by example, right? Like no one wants a trainer who isn't living, who's eating chips and not living by what they preach. I think practicing what you preach is so important for your sort of your sort of occupation or really just livelihood. And I think that echoes a lot in faith, right? Like so many people wear crosses, right? But they blaspheme Christ, or they don't live by the ways, or they judge others instead of looking themselves in the eye. One of my favorite verses is in the book of Matthew is you judge the speck in someone else's eye, but you ignore the plank in your own eye. And it's a metaphor for judging others, but never having that self-reflection of yourself. I think there's a lot of parallels. So that kind of leads me into my next point. Faith and fitness is so reliant on discipline, motivation, and, a need for something like a drive, right? I know for me personally, I need something to drive me. It used to be sports, right? It used to be, trying to be the best in my sport. But I've even weaned off and said, what am I training for? And I'd love to hear that. But for those out there, right, is it more of a motivation, or is it more of showing up every day on like a discipline?
It's definitely both, but the discipline weighs way more than the motivation ever will. It's funny because you were like the best athlete growing up in our high school. For reference, Justin was literally the biggest stud growing up, middle school, high school, like insane athlete. But it's on the record now. But dude. So definitely like it's the motivation will spark your interest in getting up to do something, right? So like let's say you have a wedding coming up, you want to get in great shape for that wedding. Now you get into that groove of the fitness, you start doing that thing, you start feeling healthier, you're sleeping better, you're performing better. Why would you? Now it's like, dude, now you're in the groove. It's like, okay, now like, okay, there's gonna be days where, okay, this is tough now. Like, it's not so easy. Am I gonna get up and still get that done? So that's where the discipline comes in, because the motivation will only last you so long. It fades in and out, especially for someone like me. I find that, I do a lot of rigorous training. I notice that there's days where I don't want to wake up and do the work. I literally don't want to do it. And like, this is coming from someone who I love this, but there are days where I do not want to. And those are the most important days. So I would say that the discipline is so much more important, but both will drive you, bro. It's I call it internal versus external, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So the extrinsic motivation is like, okay, I want to like get in shape to maybe, look better, and that's like going to drive you to do something, right? Or the intrinsic is like, all right, I want to help like myself. I need my mental to be better. I need my body to feel better. That's more of the intrinsic motivation. So those two pieces are both huge, but the discipline is just going to outweigh those like a ton. So,
and because, we're talking this forum, here on a C&HD podcast, I think so much of faith in Christ is like that. Like intrinsic versus extrinsic, right?
Yep.
Like if you sort of materialize that in a faith sense, there's a lot of, in faith, extrinsic is like what you can do, what you can become, right? Like you can become a fully loving, self-emptying person that helps others, right? Yeah. And internally, you can have so much transformation and change in yourself. Like I know confidently, I'm what they call like a cradle Catholic, similar to you. Maybe it's because of the region of the world we grew up. We were fortunate enough to, have things instilled in us early on to go through the faith, go through religion, and go through, like I said, like the catechism and through all the sacraments. But you can seriously see a change when you're in tune with your faith and when you're out of tune with your faith. And I think when you're training as well, you can, when you're on it and you're on the dial, you're feeling probably the best you ever felt. And when you're out of it, you feel worse than you ever felt. So there, like we've been talking about, there's a lot of parallels, between the two. Yeah. And for you personally, right? Yeah. You can, and something I deal with, right? Like you can go out and train 3 hours a day, or, I know you're prepping for a 100-mile marathon. Like that's not a mistake, 100-mile marathon. and we'll jump into that specifically. Yeah. But like when you train, like say you train hours of the day, don't you find how you can train for all these hours, but sometimes finding your faith, whether it be reading scripture or praying, it's almost fleeting. Yeah. Correct, and it's a discipline, just like working out. So how do you like balance that, and how do you assimilate between the two? Yeah, it's definitely something that I have to work on every day, because it's difficult, bro. It's difficult balancing it. And it's, you want to be so close to God, you want to do, but we live in a world where it's like, it's chaos, right? Yeah. And you need to like take that time to find your time to, talk to God, be in a relationship with God, put God first, right? Yeah. That sometimes gets out of the way, right? You're not thinking about, when you have a million things on your mind to do for work, whether it's school, that's a lot. Sometimes it's the last thing you're thinking about. You're like, it doesn't come to your mind like, oh crap, I haven't read my Bible today. I haven't prayed. I haven't talked to God today, so that's something that I struggle with 100%. And I've recently gotten much better where I'm like, the first thing I do when I wake up is I'm going to talk to God. Yeah. My day is devoted to him. So whatever happens to me today is because of him. It's his reason, I'm going to trust in his plan. Yeah. And that's the way I start my day. I talk to him. And I noticed that is so helpful for me when it's like, oh my God, I wake up and the first thing I do is Jesus. That's the first thing I do every single morning. So it's like, how, if you do that, think about the change that will happen in your life, right? It's like you're starting your day with God. So that for me, someone who's always struggled with, finding time to talk to God, has made a significant difference in my life. First thing in the morning, waking up, talking to God, and I'm like thanking him for waking me up, thankful for the day, and then I go on my day. So that's significantly helped me. Yeah, and I think a lot of the viewers on C&HD, look at the demographics and kind of the people I've interacted with, young men, right, and young men and women, but speaking as guys in our early 20s, we can assimilate with young men. We live in a unique time, like you said, so much noise, so much messiness, right? And a lot. And there's two ways to go about it. You can fall into that pit of messiness, or you can, you can find Christ, right? You can find these outlets for, for moving out of that. I guess my question for you, right? Speaking directly to that sort of audience, and I'm sure it simulates with anyone, but for these young men, right, who are struggling, who are consumed by the noise, and I think you partially answered it, and if I can speak to it a little bit, like having that dedicated periods, like, I'm gonna hit the gym at this time and come home at this time. I'm gonna eat this meal. I'm gonna meal prep. You're doing these things for your body, but you have to dedicate time for your soul. You have to dedicate time for your spirit, because if you don't, just like in the gym, how you'll fall out of shape, how you'll fall in this place of no good. The spirit is much more valuable than our bodies, because no matter what we do, our bodies are gonna break and become brittle, but our soul is the thing that lasts forever. And we put our faith in Christ and in His eternal salvation. But to bring this question more towards you, So I know you answered it, like having these dedicated time slots.
Yeah.
But for the young man listening, right?
Yeah.
That's just struggling, right? Like
Yeah.
you could put it together, but
Yeah.
you don't have that dedication. Do you have any advice for building that dedication, right? Like you can speak about being disciplined, but do you have any advice for actually, it's a talent, right?
Yeah.
It's a skill that's learned to building that discipline.
Yeah, of course. Think about the life that you want to live, right?
Yeah.
So I want to live a life of purpose and joy and fulfillment with kindness and spreading love, right? That's what I want to be known for. I want to have purpose, and I want to also make other people's lives better. That's what I want out of this life.
Yeah.
So for someone like, I bet a lot of young men want to live a life similar to that. They want to have purpose. They want to have drive. They want to make their life good. They want to make other people's lives around them better, right? So that right there is a testament to why you should get closer to God.
Yeah.
Because that alone, being closer to God in that sense, will allow you to be just the best version of yourself for not only yourself, but everyone else around, your family, your friends. The person that you want to be, that other, when you're not in the room and other people are talking about you, it's like, oh, Justin's a really, really good dude. Like that. So when you think about like that, who you want to become, it should be kind of easy to be like, yo, maybe I'll dedicate some time today to start talking to God, because that's the type of guy I want to become. So I noticed the more I talk to Jesus, the better my life becomes for everyone around me, because I'm in a better spirit. Yeah. So like just recently, dude, I told you I just started talking to God every morning. Like before that, I would start my day. Sometimes I'd be stressed out. I wasn't in a good mood. I was like, sometimes I get angry. Sometimes I get upset, and that's normal. But I've noticed that the days I'm waking up and talking to God, it's like my morning is like nothing can make my morning go. Like I could have the worst thing could happen, and like I talked to God this morning. I already have a calmer mind no matter what happens in the next 3 to 4 hours of my day. Yeah. So that's what I want to say. Think about who you want to become. Think about how you want others to perceive you and look at you, and think about the impact you have on other people's lives. And if you want to be a positive one, dedicate that time to God. Yeah. Right.
I think a big part of kind of the mission I'm going to be pushing with C&HD, right? I don't know how familiar you are with the space of like Christian creators, right? Dude, there's so much hate. There's so much internal fighting, even between
in the space. Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Really?
Protestants, Catholics, Orthodox, whatever it may be. There's so much fighting internally, right? And I think, touching on a point you spoke about, right? Being in tune with Christ, right? And you're saying who more better to emulate than Christ himself, right? And what I'm talking about is with C&HD, I want to build a voice that is not fighting internally, right? We're on the same team. We're in the team of Christ, right? And I think, to your point, to the young men out there, if we can come to know who he truly is, start with the Gospels. Just read the eyewitness accounts coming from the Gospels about who is this Jesus Christ of Nazareth, right? How did he live? How did he treat people? He was fully God, but fully man, right? Someone that we can directly emulate. He's not a God of the clouds. He's not a God just of space and time. He's a God that humbled himself and came to be like us, right? So who better to emulate? We can have, personal role models. I'm sure in your space you have people who are killing in the fitness game who say, that's awesome, I want to be like him, right? Yeah. But the ultimate idol, the ultimate person that we can try to emulate is Christ himself. And in my community specifically, something I'm going to strive to do is you can tell people, this is Jesus, this is what he's done. You can tell people 100 truths. They won't necessarily believe it. But to emulate and live like Christ and be that type of person, that's all the world of difference. Yeah. Christ had a self-emptying demeanor to him. When he came to people and said, drop what you have and follow me, they trusted him, in a place of, that's radical. It makes no sense. He tells people to sell off their riches and give it to the poor and follow me. We're called to something that doesn't make sense and goes against what we want as men, as women, it goes against the world. So that kind of leads me into my next point, right? Yep. We're in beautiful Miami, right? And it's awesome. I've been here for just about 2 weeks. So much to do, so many cool people, cars, parties. How do you balance it, man? Because, you know, we grew up from the same place, but now you're living here full time. How do you balance that change of being in this fast moving kind of, some will call it like secular world, with being grounded in the faith?
Dude, so it's funny about this city specifically. This city could literally make you, or it could literally break you, right? So like you could become someone so successful here and so grounded and so not just faith, but anything. Like this city has so much to offer if you go and grab the right thing, right? So I know people that come down here, they make it for 2 or 3 weeks, they have to move back home because they're like, this place just took them over. They're at the club till 5 a.m. It's too fat. It's just too much. If you come down here, when I got down here, I saw the health and fitness space down here. I was like, oh my God, this is where I'm meant to be. Like this is like the hub of fitness. And I started running, started getting my cardio up. I started training harder. I started wanting to do things like I started enjoying life a little bit more. And I was realizing like, yo, like there is so much more than the money and the cars and the fame and the clout and there's so much more that this place, Florida in general and Miami that offers. So it's about finding what works for you, like being grounded in the fact that if you're gonna move to somewhere different, like you're gonna find what calls you. Like you're not gonna go out and like look for something that's not you, right? So I think the biggest thing for me was I was like, yo, when I moved down there, I'm not gonna go and let this city I know what could happen if I get down here and it's just it's mayhem, which it is. You gotta be able to find yourself. Like there's a 4 a.m. run club I go to every Wednesday. Shout out 440 Run Club. Like they there are a bunch of animals that just run on the track workouts. Like that's what I was like called here to do. So you gotta ground yourself. And I'm diving into communities that are so into what I'm into. I don't even think about like the other stuff. It's so crazy. So there's two crazy polar opposite sides here in Miami, I want to say.
Yeah. And, you're touching on something so important for me, a community, right? Who you surround yourself with. And it's so cliche to say, who you become, who you surround yourself with. I feel like that's said 1,000 times. It's said because it's so true. But that's part of the C&HD mission, right? Like building a community of, I'm always keen on young men in faith, young men and women in faith, but anyone in faith. We're all struggling. We're all dealing with something. We're all imperfect. We're all broken vessels trying to figure out what are we doing here, right? So important to surround yourself. And I hope with C&HD, I'm able to, create an environment where folks are able to just talk about this. What's better and more energizing to talk about than our Lord and Savior. There's really nothing more important. But to kind of talk on that, right? You mentioned run clubs and these communities. And I think it echoes back to you're in your passion, right? Yeah. Can you speak of, and because I know you, right? Yeah. Like I can be completely honest, right? You at a point you were back at home and I'm sure you were left with a decision, right? Yeah. Am I going to drop everything? I believe you were working at Lifetime.
I was working at Lifetime. I was in grad school as well.
You're in grad school. You're grinding, right? Yeah. And our mind often tells us, stay safe. This is. I'm making solid money. I'm here. I got my friends here. The unknown is scary, right? So, for anyone dealing with something similar, right? It might not be picking up their life and moving to Miami, but for doing something in their life that requires change. Do you have any advice for embracing change, for chasing your passion?
Absolutely. There's two main things when it comes to change, and this is something that I've learned very well. Two main things, okay? Number one is that if it's uncomfortable for you, it's probably the right move. It should feel uncomfortable. You'll probably make the right decision if you feel like it's uncomfortable. So that's one thing. Number two is it'll never be the right time, and it's never going to work out perfectly aligned. Yeah. You need to take the jump when it calls you. When the opportunity is there, if it's a big decision and your gut is telling you want to go somewhere, and there's like a couple things not aligned though, but I want to make this jump. There's a couple of things not aligned. There's never going to be the right time. Yeah. Ever in life with anything. Yeah. So you need to make the jump, before you say all pieces of the puzzle are put together.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then again, if it's uncomfortable, which it should be, it's probably the right move.
Yeah.
So those are my two things when it comes to change. And it's scary, but just hear me on that. If it's uncomfortable, you're probably making the right decision.
Yeah. There's a book, you know, I want to stay based in the Bible as much as I can, but there's a wonderful book called The War on Art. I believe it's by Robert Grant. I don't know exactly. I should know it because it's a great book. But he says when you're scared to death, that's how you know you're compelled and you have to take that jump. When you're terrified of what might happen, you know, go do it. And look what it's done for you, right? You know, you've built out this space of, you know, you're on your game right now, and you're in a great place, and you're working with so many cool people. Do you want to dive into, you know, that kind of aspect of what you're doing and you know, what you're trying to build?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So I actually launched my own LLC here in Florida. I launched my own business, my own training business.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm so blessed to be able to do what I love every day. Like I wake up and I get to do what I love to do. I love to train. I love to help people. So right then and there is a blessing. So I'm building my business right now. So I'm trying to gain more clientele, you know, train people in the Miami area. So I'm lucky that, you know, it's the new year now. So a lot of people are hitting me up for training. So I'm building that. I was able to train a group of influencers on the road for about a year and a half, 2 years, which is really cool. You know, they traveled all over the world. So I got to go to Australia. I got to go to, you know, all over Canada, the US. Like I got some really cool experiences, met some really cool people doing what I love to do. So yeah, now I'm just working towards building my online company. I'm launching my own training business for online coaching. So that's gonna be like my biggest thing to help other people around the, you know, the country or around the world who, you know, I can't be with in person, but I want to offer my training to as many people as possible. So that's that aspect when it comes to like my business. But, you know, right now I'm also trying to build myself, like when it comes to racing and, you know, marathon training. I'm running a 100-mile ultra in 2 weeks. So I want to just keep pushing like myself to the absolute limit. As long as I'm able to, bro. Like we're so young once, like I'm not ever gonna get this body back probably. Like this is the best I'll probably ever feel. So I'm just trying to go all in myself physically and with my business, dude. So that's what I'm building right now.
Yeah. So we're going to jump into the 100-mile marathon, but first I want to kind of just stop on, you know, building a brand, right? I'm here trying to build C&HD as well. It's difficult at times, right? Like finding, like even today, like this took a lot of praying, trying to figure out, you know, do I take this jump? Like, do I showcase myself? Because honestly, speaking outwardly about Christ, you know, he said in the book of John, you know, they will hate you for they hated me first. It is a truth. When Christ says things, they happen. We live in a time where unfortunately it can be vulnerable and it can have, you know, impacts on your life. But to me, you know, after time and thinking and prayer, you know, I took the step forward and kind of like what we're talking about when it's a little bit scary, you know, taking that jump forward to seeing where it takes you. But back to building a brand, right? How much of building a brand, right? My brand is totally faith-based, right? So everything I'm doing is trying to be, you know, centered around Christ and less about me, but more about how I can be a vehicle for Christ. And I think that's so important for the viewers to know, right? Right? Like I'm here sitting here, but that's because I feel a calling from Christ to use my opportunity, to use what he's blessed me with. The followers that I call disciples on Instagram, you know, this podcast will be sitting here with you to spread his good news, to glorify him. How much of that comes into building a business that, you know, not all the time you can intertwine faith and business. But how much do you try to do that?
Well, the faith comes in my business through a reflection of, you know, my character, right? So that's alone is for me a big piece of the puzzle. Like, why does a client want to keep coming back to train with me? Because my training is so good? Maybe that'd be awesome, but I would hope so. It's more because of like they appreciate who I am as a person. And I want to say a lot of the people that I train and I'm with every single day, a client becomes a friend so fast. And I really believe that is like through God, because like I've had people that I met here in Florida who hit me up on Instagram. They don't even know who I am. And I don't know who they are. I go and train them and it's like, dude, they're such good people. And like, I feel like hopefully they feel the same way about me. And I feel like that is through God alone. Like I've met so many cool people with so many different connections. It's just like, I'm so blessed to be able to do that. So that alone, I'm building my business through faith, right? Because that's my character. That's who I am. So, that's what I would say to that. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much echoing of the same things that we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, the reflection of oneself being more Christ-like, more faithful, more holiness, more drawn towards what's this awesome word from Bishop Barron the other day, sanctification. Basically, trying to become a saint in our own lives. You know, you're in a field that is so impactful to a person's life.
Yeah,
like you're changing their body, right? It's sort of like faith, changing someone's spirit. You're actually changing someone's body. You know, there's people who work in all these different industries, but what's more personable than helping someone become, forget body. You're helping someone love themselves, become more of who they are called to be.
Correct.
Right? So I guess not even based in faith, like just as we're talking about it, like what does that mean to you to be able to change people's lives, to be able to change their lifestyles, to be able to shape their bodies so that they're honestly moving forward in their life, you know?
That's the most beautiful part about the whole thing, dude, is like what I do is just so fulfilling. It's like, oh my God, like, okay, this guy hits me up for training because he wants to be there. He wants to live another 20 years for his two daughters, his wife, right? Like how do you beat that? Like, that's like, I want to change myself so I could be around to live for my daughters and my wife. Like, that's a really big task to take on, you know? And it's like, that is so, when I hear those words coming out of people's mouths, I'm like, oh my God, like that is just so, like, to put your trust in me like that is so, you know, that means a lot. And I'm like, I'm going to do whatever I can to get you to where you want to be now. So yeah, that's what I think. I think that it's just really like, it's really about the purpose of what you're, of, you know, who you're with and, you know, building that relationship.
Yeah. You know, something I love that you said the other day, if you don't follow Justin Mirra, it's Justin Mirra, right?
Justin Mirra,
on Instagram?
Yeah.
No underscores, no nothing.
Justin _ Mirra.
Justin _ Mirra. Go give him a follow. And sign up for his fitness because you know you're getting it from a man
in good shape.
of faith and seriously go look at his transformations. But also you also get from following you, you know, I watch it and I listen and I'm like, wow, that's so true. You were saying something like this and feel free to re-describe it, but you're like, if you really wanted something, right? If you really wanted to chase something, you would do it. Because if you weren't doing it, like, you don't want it that bad. You might tell yourself you want it. You might tell yourself this is so important to me. But if it really was, you would be doing the things you have to do. Yeah. How true is that?
Can I touch on that for a second? And that's related to like what you're building. It's like, dude, like at one point, like I was like, I longed for a relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
For a year and a half, I was out living a life that couldn't have been further away from God. I was out living a life. I was like, I want to be so close to Jesus, but I'm out doing this, and this. Like I was doing that for so long, bro. Like, and I was like, how on my 1 to 10 scale, like how bad do I want my relationship with Jesus to be? Like, how bad do I want this relationship to be close? Yeah. And I guess it wasn't that high because like I was out doing these crazy things. And now it's like, okay, wake up call. Like that's a priority. And you kind of shift the perspective there and change your way. At least I changed my ways for the better. Yeah. But that's a clear example of, you know, if you want something, like how bad do you want it?
Dude, I love you just said that. Yeah. Because like we said, what's more important? What is seriously more important, right? To think of it in that perspective, right? For that longing, I feel everyone is compelled. I feel no matter, you can be a severe atheist, agnostic, you can not even think, you can never read one page of the Bible. But we as humans, I feel, have this longing for something, right? Mm-hmm. And in that longing, what do you do with it, right? You know, we of course encourage people to find it in the Bible. You know, it's the fullness of the truth. It's you know, it's amazing. But That's so true. The way, and I appreciate you thinking of it in that perspective, right? Like not even just in the gym sense, but if you want a relationship, and this is for the young men and women and anyone struggling with faith now, if you're on the cusp, if you're picking up the Bible, don't know where to start, it does feel overwhelming, right? You go through these, it's a 2,000-year-old book. It has stories and parables, and things connect and cross references, and it makes you think. It feels overwhelming. But when you take the dive and you pray and you give yourself to Christ, right? And you say, forget me. I want you, right? I need you. It brings you down this place of fulfillment, brings you down this place of self-respect, solitude, and an outward presence to you that is like Christ. Yep. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, dude.
So I want to get into the 100-mile marathon. I remember when you posted it. Yeah. I think you responded back to me. I was like, am I reading this right? Like, I thought it was a typo. 10 miles, like, dude, if I get in the car and Sienna can go vouch for this. If I get in the car, if it's 100 miles, I'd be like, oh my God, can I fly there?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to drive this? It's ridiculous. 100-mile marathon. So much of it is physical, of course, and you've been training like an animal every day. I see you back home in the snow training. Yeah. Talk about the physical part, and then maybe after you answer that, we can jump into there's a lot more than physical. Yeah. It's a mental battle. So what does the physical take to be able to prepare yourself for something like this?
Dude, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, and like it's been just super crazy, dude. This prep has been like, it's been exhausting. It's been time consuming. Yeah. It's been, but I have a group of guys I'm doing this with that's made it super fun. Yeah. It's a lot of time using your body, right? So, I'm on my feet for my shortest run that I'll do, like in my prep, is like a 10-mile run. That's like a light day.
Crazy.
So it's like, 10-mile run. That's like, thank God it's a light day today. So like, it's a lot of time on feet, and that alone will take me about like an hour and a half. So I'm trying to go slow on my feet. So it's a lot of time on feet and a lot of consistent stress on the same parts of your body. So my coach, he was like, listen to me, there's going to be a point where your mileage is so high for this training that something's going to happen. Like part of your body is going to break, and you got to be ready for it, because it's going to happen. He's like, something's going to pop. It's going to be an ankle, a knee. It's going to be a hip. You're going to feel something. And I was like, all right, knock on wood, I've never had an injury before. Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head, all right, he's just chit chatting, like I'll be good. So it's my first 70-mile week that I ran in New York in the freezing cold. That was over Christmas. And I felt my hip. I was running a 17-mile day, and mile 15, my hip, I landed on my left leg, and I felt it. And I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Yeah. And fast forward, like I'm 2 weeks later, my hip is still in pain. My adductor's in pain. Like your body just feels it. So it takes a lot physically out of you. Your body just feels a lot of stress from something like that. It's a lot of durability, a lot of, stress on the body. And then again, it's very hard to do it on top of running a business, trying to, run your business, train people, like keep your relationship with your friends and family good. You're juggling everything and then go run for 4 hours a day. Like, it's just like, it's so difficult, but again, I'm blessed to be able to do something like that. People are in wheelchairs right now. They can't do anything with their body. So for me, that's like, dude, there's a guy in a hospital right now sitting in a wheelchair, like begging to be able to do this, like begging that he would be able to do this type of stuff. That's what powers me through the physical part, like that. Yeah.
So many things you touched on. I'm going to try to talk about in a faith sense. Yeah. Relying on the group, right? In faith, build these groups around you, similar to a run group. Was it 4 a.m. run club?
4 a.m. run club, yeah.
Like Bible studies, or having a good friend, like who you can just chop it up with, like talking about faith, asking questions, even if you're questioning it, right? Like finding answers, having a community, whether it's 1 or 100 people, going to your local parish and your local church, interacting with the priest, the preacher, interacting and surrounding yourself. That's 1. 2, I heard you have a coach.
Yeah, I have
right?
a coach, yes.
So it's funny, right? you're a master in your craft, right? You have a bachelor of science in this. You have tons of certifications. You've been doing it for years now. You're living proof of it. But you yet have a coach. And I think in faith, it's the same way, right? Having a spiritual guider, a friend, a priest, someone in faith, a voice. It could be online. I look up to tons of Father Mike Schmitz, Bishop Barron. There's tons of guys who are doing what I'm trying to do. And you can look at and say, or trust them to lead you in the right direction. There's nothing better than a coach and someone guiding you. So it's funny to hear that, right? Like a master, like what you are, can also can humble themselves enough to continue to learn. Absolutely. And in faith, it's the same way. You have to continue to learn. You're never going to know enough, and you're never going to know the depth of Christ and the Bible. Continually having that curiosity. It sounds like you have it, right? In that, and I'm sure it's emulated in things like faith as well. And you touched on one last thing. Bumps in the road, right? There's going to be times where it's not just
sunshine and
it's
rainbows.
not just up. It's not linear. Nothing in life is linear. I don't think. We all hope it to be, but nothing in life is linear. Training, finances, faith. It's never that easy. We deal with difficult times. But I think the unique thing about Christ, he's the ultimate consoler. And through these times of struggle and hardship, you almost build the strongest version of yourself. Through the loss of certain people in my family, my grandfather who are held so near and dear to me, through his struggle, he had stomach cancer. Through his struggle on home hospice, I never was so close and never so drawn towards Christ and towards faith. I've always had it, and I've been so blessed to almost feel the Holy Spirit in me my whole life. But through the hardest times, he was there the most. And there's always bumps in the road, like you mentioned, in training, in life, in faith. It's about consoling in Christ in those areas of times. Do you want to talk about any time, you've dealt with, I know hips and things, but, more real life situations that allowed you to be drawn closer to Christ?
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny you just brought up loss. That's well, it's not funny, but it's crazy that you just brought up loss, because that's what drew me the closest to God. Yeah. 2 years ago, what is it, January 7th today? Yeah. So 2 years ago, January 1st, New Year's Day, I lost my best friend. He was like the person who got me into fitness. He was the person who was my right-hand man. He was not just a friend. He was like literally my brother.
You guys were close, yep.
And at that time, it's so crazy to think that that's even in a hardship like that. Some people will be like, why would God do this? Start questioning why. I felt nothing but closer to him every day. It was, I grew closer and closer, and I trust in his plan, and there's a reason for why my friend's not here. I don't know why, but there is always a greater calling and there's a greater plan. And yeah, it's so crazy that some hardship like that could bring you closer to God than further away from him. Yeah. And that was 2 years ago. And I want to say now my faith is probably at its peak in my 24 years of life. Yeah. My faith right now is at its peak. And, that's just from there alone. So there's definitely bumps in the road. It's never going to be sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. Always.
Yeah. And, I don't know if ever in person, I ever said, sorry for your loss. You guys were so close, right? Yeah. And I know that he can look down on you, and you've gone on to do great things. And I'm sure he's so proud of you, man. And it's so funny how things work, especially in faith. Yeah. We look back on stories like the story of Job. I don't know how much you know about Job. Job was almost in every aspect of his life. He was a man that was very well off, and he had family, and he lost everything. He became sick. He lost his family, his wealth, but he never turned his back on Christ. And then with Christ, you always triumphant. And in the end of the story of Job, he comes to a place of complete contentment. And having that ability to accept the suffering. And you have to ask where that comes from. And where I find it comes from personally is we serve a suffering God, right? We serve a God that came down and was fully perfect, sinless, and lived a perfect life, did miracles, helped those who persecuted him, and hung on a cross and said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," right? Who was lashed to the maximum. And Romans were so good at executing. That was their forte.
That's what they did. Yeah.
That was their forte. And it's gruesome what they did to our Lord and Savior. But he bore our wounds so that we can be saved. And that's why when we suffer in our life, which it's going to come from, suffering is going to come. Loss is going to come. No matter today, tomorrow, nothing is promised. But we can lie content in the Lord, that He will make us, okay in it.
Exactly,
so to the second part of my question, your body's gonna break, right, on this 100-mile run.
Oh yeah.
But how much of it is your faith, your mindset that's gonna make you get through it? Like I can't even, as a person who doesn't really run, I warm up on the treadmill when I go. I can't even think about it. What is in your mind, 2 weeks out, on how you're preparing yourself, and is it spiritual? Is it just a on the dial mindset? What is it?
Dude, I'll be super straight up and vulnerable, bro. Like it's scary. I'm so scared. I can't. My mind can't fathom around 100 miles either. That's like a task I never thought in my life I'd probably ever face.
Yeah.
Again, there's something that I have, which I'm very blessed to have, and that's my relationship with God.
Yeah.
I know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So anywhere in my life, I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I chose to do this. I'm doing it. And at miles 60 to 80, they say you're going to have some dark thoughts. Like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, bro. Like God's got me. I'm going to go until I can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to go until I can't. I hope I got through the 100 miles. I have faith I will.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go until I can't, until my body gives out. That's it.
Yeah, because that voice in our ear, we're in spiritual warfare. And, that voice of, whether it be running a 100-mile marathon or not, of quit, give up. You're not good enough. Look at how bad you are. Look at how filthy you are. You can't do this. You're not good enough, right? It's always in our ear. And for anyone listening that's dealing with, areas where you have that voice, and it's so much louder than the voice that's good.
So much louder,
Can't you
bro.
see?
It's so much louder.
When are you running, right? And being like, you feel great.
Great, yeah.
You like, I know, like post-run highs,
Yeah,
you feel that satisfaction, but in the midst of it, you're never like, wow, this is awesome. It's so much more quiet than the evil voice, right?
100%.
That of which is the evil one, right? Satan. So, in all aspects of life, and I think you can speak to it well, because you constantly put yourself in that situation of your body telling you can't
do this,
but doing it.
Correct.
What can you say to people who have that, but overcome it?
Yeah, this is something that I deal with on a daily, consistent basis. So I think that it's a testament to show you that probably a lot of people deal with this. Dude, you have to prove again, time and time to yourself, who you are. Like I ran a marathon in St. Pete last year. I barely got to that finish line. I was dying.
Yeah.
I said I'm never running a marathon ever again in my entire life. 3 weeks ago, I just ran a marathon in Hawaii, and I did it. Like, you got to just keep showing up for yourself. Have faith in who you are, and your relationship with God will take you so many places, dude.
Yeah.
You have to just try to, again, focus on the moment, one day at a time. So again, there's that voice in my ear. Can you imagine how far 100 miles is? You'll barely get through the marathon. How do you think you're gonna get to 100 miles? You're barely get through that. You barely got through that marathon. How do you expect to get through 100 miles? It's 4 marathons. In my head, the thing that helped me is like, okay, I do day by day. Like I know that I have a coach. He's telling me what I have to do. I'm trusting in him. I'm trusting in his plan. I'm doing 15 miles today. Today I'm doing 15. Tomorrow I'm doing 20. During the race, I know I'm going to do it. I compartmentalize my thoughts. Okay. Right now I'm focusing on what I can focus on. I have an aid station 10 miles away from here. I'm going to get to that aid station. I'm going to regroup, feel good. It's the next aid station.
Yeah.
That's my thought process. So you have to focus on the present and what you have in your life at that moment, or whatever your situation's giving you.
Yep.
You got to focus on that one thing where you're like, okay, I can control this. I am good at this.
Yeah.
Block out that negative. Focus on what you're good at. Remember how good you are at something, and block the other BS noise out. It's all a noise, right?
Yeah. It's all noise. It's all noise. And like what you're talking about, right? You can have so much confidence in yourself when you've done the work, when you've done the preparation, and to the C&HD community again, right? Like being in your Bible and being familiar with the scripture is so important, because you're able to leverage it in your life, right? Like the story of Job, or the story, finding when people are high on their high horse, but then fall. People who were low, but who rise. Coming to know these stories, this book of all-knowing truth, is so important, because it allows you to answer a lot of the questions,
Exactly.
in your life. And for someone like me, I think being in this position, adversaries come your way. People sometimes hate you because of this. People just want to debate you, right? And I'm sure I'm going to be sitting in a forum just like this and having to defend. And for when that day comes, I think so much of it comes from a lot of what you do, of having that faith in your practice, in your discipline.
Yep.
Again, having a coach, having something higher to help guide me. So yeah, all great things. I think what we've come to find is so much assimilation between the dedication it takes for fitness, and the dedication of having faith, and how they come into play, and how they're both so important to living out your true self, the life that Christ called you to be. Because then it displays in other things, like building a business, like relationships and things like that. Following Christ is the way to be your truest and most fulfilled self. So I put a poll out today. I don't know if you saw it.
No, I didn't say anything.
Thank you to the guy, to everybody who answered some questions on C&HD. I just put a little story post up. Just wanted to get them involved, try to build that sense of community. So I took down a couple questions
Let's go.
for you to answer. So one guy was straight up, right? He was like, I can train hard in the gym, but I don't see any progress.
Okay.
So I quit, and I do this over and over again.
Okay.
What do you say to a person like that, right? Who it's so hard in the beginning to get started, and when you don't see that instant gratification, you don't see results. How do you fight through that to get to that point? Because it may take years, right? It may take a lot of time.
Well, first and foremost, it shouldn't take years to get to really where you want to be, depending on how insane your transformation is going to be with yourself. But you got to learn and invest in the time to know you're doing the right thing, right? So you don't want to be, in the gym for 3 weeks doing things that aren't going to actually get you better. So I would say, for someone like you, I'm not saying this is I'm a coach, but I'm saying, invest in someone, someone like a mentor, someone or a coach or a trainer who knows what they're doing and is going to help you get to where you want to be. You have to stick it out, dude. So the first month, 2 months, it's going to be tough. 8 weeks in, it's not easy. Then you get in the groove. Oh my God, I lost 5 pounds. Oh my God, I have the itch now. I'm down 5 pounds. I'm going to keep going. Oh my God, a month goes by. I'm down 12 pounds now. So you kind of will get in the groove once you have to hit the spot. So you have to keep going. So don't go 3-4 weeks and quit and then stop again for 2 months, then go back 3-4 weeks. It's not worth it.
Another person says, I train hard in the gym and see results, right? Kind of the total opposite.
Yep. Good.
But something happens with my ego where my head gets big, and basically he used other language, but I become a mean person.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced that? Or is there a way to deal with that where you become in the gym, you become strong, big, and it builds up your ego to a point where you're actually kind of rude, kind of disrespectful?
Oh, dude, yeah. I think that's definitely a real thing. I mean, I think it comes to confidence. Sometimes it's like, okay, now you look amazing, and there are people in the gym who are new, who are starting out, who aren't going to look like you, who are going to feel the way you feel, lifting 100-pound dumbbells the way you might be.
Yeah.
Again, I think that can translate into the way you look at yourself in the outside world now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm big now. I'm someone who I never was before. and you kind of portraying a person that, you know, you're not really who you are. I would say when you become like that in the gym, when you see good results, you see insane, that's such a blessing. It's like, dude, use that as such an advantage to be a better person instead of being like the egotistic mindset or like, you know, like ego driven person. Be the helpful person, someone that's just starting out, or be the nice person. It goes, when you have that good physique and you have that good strength and you have the way everything's going for you in the gym, you have that kind mentality and like that like humble mentality, you look so much better than someone who's ego driven. So think about that.
Yeah. And I think the way it plays into faith is pride comes before the fall, right?
Yeah.
Ego will kill you. You know, and I don't mean in the bodily sense. Perhaps it might. It can get you in trouble, certainly. But having that ego, having a built up ego will do you no good. Like we said earlier, having a self emptying demeanor like one of Christ is so much more joyful to be around. So this will be the last question coming from the community. So someone, I love this. Someone brought up, what does this passage mean to you? And he brought up 1 Corinthians 6, line 19 through 20. You might have heard about this one because I feel like it's used in the fitness space. It says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom have you received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. Right. I think a lot of that means, you know, I think a lot of it assimilates to the way of, you know, following the commandments and honoring yourself in the way that God calls you to live. But I also think it's, you know, it's living in the sense of being your healthiest self, right? What does it mean to you?
I've seen people interpret this a couple different ways. I've seen someone interpret this as like, don't be lazy. You know, I've seen people interpret it that way. I think it definitely means a bunch of different things. I think it definitely means, obviously, live the way that God would want you to live on this earth physically, right? So again, challenge yourself. You have a able body that other people do not have. Like, you are so blessed. So use what you have as a gift. Like it's truly a gift, because you could see it with your own eyes. There's people out there who don't have anything close to what you have. You can walk, you can talk, you can move, you're healthy. Like, you can use so much of that for good. And I think that's what God's calling, like, that's what the message right there is. God's calling you to do something like that. That's what I think.
And
how about yourself? How about you? How do you interpret that?
I mean, I think again, a lot of it calls to not falling into like the 7 deadly sins. A lot of it is the counter opposite of living a healthy life. Gluttony, right? Lust or laziness, right? Sloth. These are all things that, with the type of lifestyle that you build, that I try to live, following a biblical lifestyle, you naturally move against, right? And it's, I think, you know, something that I always hear is, moving away from sin is not by specifically thinking, I can't sin. It's by loving God so much that you fall away from sin. You fall away from sin. And I think that's kind of spoken in this part of scripture of like, honor yourself, honor God, for he has given us this life. And that will naturally put you in a position of living a healthy and better life.
100%.
So yeah, 100%. So I see the time is getting to the point, I believe. So we'll start to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Dude, thank you.
It was great to connect with you.
I know we're back. It's crazy.
I wish I was here for a couple more days because I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning. But I would have loved to like hit a workout. I don't know if I could soon.
When I come to New York, we'll do it.
So bro. We'll get together. I can't promise you I can run.
Easy day. I'll probably take off running for a couple months after this, honestly, bro. So yeah, we'll get to it. Dude.
So best of luck to you in your 100-mile run, man. That's you know, I'm gonna stay in touch with you and see how that goes.
Man, bro.
Everyone, you know, go check out what he has going on. You know, I don't know if I can link it or however we distribute this
Thank you, bro.
content.
I appreciate you. Thank you, bro.
You know, I want to get your stuff out there too.
I appreciate you.
But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you. This is what you're building is. This is so exciting, dude. It's so good. for young men out there, this is really, it's inspiring to see you, dude, like go on and build something like this, bro. Like it really, really is. Like when you reach out to me about this earlier on, when you first started building Christ and his disciples, I was like, oh my God, this is actually awesome, bro.
Yeah.
And like, just keep going. You have a lot of momentum right now, and I'm really proud of you, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And seeing what you're doing is you know, it definitely has a part, you know, because it's not easy to put yourself out there. So,
Thanks, bro.
I appreciate it.
The man,
So,
bro. Thank you.
There we go, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Let's go.